I came to Glenmere in early September, when the air still held some warmth, but the leaves were already flirting with crimson and gold. The town, tucked against the jagged coastline of Maine like a barnacle clinging to stone, had been an impulsive choice. Boston had grown unbearable. The apartment was too quiet once Mia left. After the divorce, even my photographs looked sterile. Perfect lighting, clean lines, no soul. And when my father died that spring, I found myself wandering the city in a fog, camera bag forgotten at home, shooting nothing, feeling less. He and I weren't close, not really, but the finality of it left me hollow in ways I didn't expect. I'd craved silence. I craved something older, something untouched. Glenmere fit that mold perfectly. The rental listing had been vague, charming coastal home, rich in history, but the picture showed a white clapboard cottage with crooked shutters and a view of the sea. The price was absurdly low. I took it without asking questions. When I arrived, the town greeted me with cautious smiles and half-held gazes. The grocer, a wiry woman named Ada, called me Mr. Sutter before I'd even introduced myself. "You're staying at the Winfield place, eh?" she asked, eyes flicking toward the window, where mist hung low over the hills. "Real fine view this time of year." I nodded, distracted by the way her tone twisted on the word view. Everyone knew where I was staying. Everyone smiled, but none of the smiles ever reached their eyes. The town was small enough to memorize in a day. The post office with its hand-painted sign and leaning mailbox. The Glenmere Diner, where they served coffee so strong it could take rust off nails, and Lauren's Hardware, stocked with fishing tackle, mothballs, and more types of rope than I knew existed. I learned their names faster than expected, learned their routines. Glenmere had a rhythm like a tide, slow, steady, unchanging. And they were pulling me in, whether I wanted to be or not. At the diner, Helen always brought me blueberry pie without asking. At the post office, Harold slipped my mail into my hands before I could even open the box. Lyle, my next-door neighbor, waved every morning with the same 3 words, "Fog's coming in." That first week, I focused on shooting landscapes. The cliffs near Whittle's Rock had a kind of melancholy to them. Wind howled through them like it remembered voices. I started using black and white film. Color felt dishonest somehow, too modern for this place. The house was exactly as advertised, quiet, creaky, and full of corners where the light didn't quite reach. The floorboards groaned like they were complaining about my presence. In the attic, I found a dusty trunk filled with old photographs, sepia-toned faces staring too directly at the camera. The Winfield family, I assumed. One photo had a note on the back. "We keep the circle. Glenmere, 1892. That night, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, deliberate, always stopping just short of the bedroom door. When I flung it open, there was nothing. Only the groan of the old wood under its own weight. Then came the voices, low murmurs from the woods behind the house. Always after midnight, always in unison. When I brought it up to Ada, she paused mid-scan of my groceries. "Coyotes," she said too quickly. "Lots of them this time of year." "They sounded like people," I said. She handed me my change with a paper-thin smile. "Some folks'll do just about anything to keep traditions alive." The second Friday of the month brought the first invitation. "We hold a potluck," said Lyle. "Out at the clearing past Whittle's Rock. Sunset, just a welcome gesture." I hesitated. "That's in the woods, right?" Lyle chuckled. "Everything here's in the woods." He clapped a hand on my shoulder. It lingered just a beat too long. "Bring something warm. It gets cold out there, even when the fire's going." Before the potluck, I dug deeper into the Winfield family. The Glenmere Library, 2 rooms and a retired schoolteacher named Ruth, held a dusty binder labeled Town History. Buried in it was a yellow clipping from 1911, "Winfield Boy Missing. Last seen near the stones." Another article, dated decades later, spoke of the Circle of Observance, a community tradition believed to ensure good harvests and safe seas. No details, just a quote from the then mayor. We give to the land what was once taken. Balance, you see, is everything. Whatever the pact was, it went deep. The potluck clearing bloomed suddenly from the trees like a secret kept too long. There were torches, real ones, flickering orange against the dusk. Tables had been set with bowls of chowder, cornbread, roasted root vegetables. Everything smelled of salt and smoke and sage. The entire town was there. They welcomed me like I was one of their own. Smiles wider now, jokes softer, laughter like a spell cast into the air. I asked Ada where the food came from. She just smiled. Glenmere always provides, long as we remember our end. I didn't ask what that meant. At twilight, Lyle rang the silver bell and everyone turned west toward the trees. Time to pay respect, someone murmured. The procession wound through a trail I'd never noticed before, though I'd walked that forest dozens of times. At the end stood a ring of standing stones, moss-covered, tall, hunched like old bones. At the center stood a table draped in black velvet. On it, a carved wooden mask and a silver bowl. Tonight, Lyle intoned, we remember the pact. They placed the mask on my face, pressed a shard of obsidian into my palm. I felt it bite into my skin as the crowd whispered, the first cut is memory. I woke in my bed, hand bandaged. The camera on my desk was missing its memory card. I found it inside the herb bundle left on the porch. The footage was static, but in the noise, I heard a whisper, "You're one of us now." They stopped pretending. Harold at the post office slipped me a key without explanation. Helen from the diner asked if I'd be leading the next circle. Lyle nodded solemnly every time we passed. "You're settling in well," he said. "The land remembers you." Sometimes I wake up standing in the woods, no memory of how I got there. My phone never has reception on those nights. My shoes are always clean. Symbols have started appearing on the walls, drawn in ash, etched faintly into the condensation on the bathroom mirror. Spirals, eyes, circles with thorns. Last night I dreamt I was underground. Dozens of us stood in a chamber lit by moss and bonfire. A figure approached, tall, masked, silent. It reached out and touched my cheek. I woke up sobbing, my skin burning cold where it touched me. My emails no longer send. My laptop restarts on its own. Files go missing. My reflection lags behind me in the mirror. 2 nights ago, I packed a bag and tried to leave. I took the old coastal road, past Widow's Rock and the rusted turnoff to Ellsworth. I drove until I saw the blinking lights of a gas station, one I didn't recognize. But when I pulled in, the pumps were dry and the windows blacked out. I turned back. The road had changed. No turns, no forks, just pine and fog, pressing tighter and tighter. When I finally stopped the car, the engine refused to start again, so I walked. Hours maybe. The trees never ended. Until I emerged, back in front of the Winfield house. The herb bundle was waiting on the porch again. This time, it was tied with red twine. I found a journal inside the attic trunk that night, buried beneath old quilts and dried lavender. It belonged to Tobias Winfield, the last of the family. His final entry was dated October 1938. The circle claims us when we stray. I thought I could leave. Thought I could unlearn the rhythm. But the trees have long memories. They bent the road backward, brought me home again. Under the entry was a sketch, a spiral of names, each crossed out, except for the last. Mine. The harvest moon rises tomorrow. They say it's the oldest ritual, the truest observance. I can feel the town breathing around me. Watching, waiting. They've saved me a role, Lyle said. Something older than the pact. I asked what it meant. He smiled and whispered, "The second cut is belonging."